What's up, A to Z Sports Nashville? Easton Freeze here with Trevor Sikkema, Mr. PFF. Trev, thanks for sitting down with me again this year. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you having me again.
We're talking about some guys that we'll get to the top four guys, and that's what you guys want to hear about. But it's time for us to look past them for a moment because the Titans have a lot of needs everywhere on the team, and they've got some very important decisions to make. And so I want to talk about the offensive line to start because there are some pretty interesting linemen in this class. Let's start at the top.
Okay.
Who are the top, maybe the top tackle in particular in this class in your eyes when you've watched them?
I still have faith that Will Campbell can be a tackle in the
You
league.
do?
I really do. Like, I understand the measurables. He's going to come in with a little bit shorter arms, but you just listen to the way this guy speaks. The foot quickness makes up for some of the lack of length, which I like to see on tape, but how he approaches the game, how smart he is. I mean, he talks like he's a 5-6 year pro already. And the dude's not even in the league.
Sounds like a 40-year-old, yeah.
Right. And so it's hard for me to know that, yeah, you got to be a great athlete to be able to play offensive tackle at the NFL level. But those are also sometimes the smartest dudes on the field for everything that they have to take into account, their own technique, the defense, what they could be throwing at them, different stunts and games, what a guy's going to have as a pass rush plan, how he wins with speed or power, all different stuff. So I'm not worried about Will Campbell handling all of that. So to me, he is still my top offensive tackle in this class. Next, I would have, depends what happens with the medicals, but Josh Simmons from Ohio State. I love Josh Simmons.
I know a lot of folks think he's the most talented tackle in this class.
He is so talented. I mean, it's hard to not watch him because stylistically, he's very similar to a guy like Christian Darrisaw. I mean, the pre-snap stance is so low, it's so loaded. He's got so much power behind it. He's got great first step quickness out of his stance as well. So he's somebody who I think can survive, whether it's man or gap scheme run blocking plays, zone run blocking plays. He can do it all for you, but not a great knee injury, obviously. And any time that you're dealing with a knee injury with a big dude weighing over 300 pounds, it's just something that you got to take into account. So we'll see sort of how that checks out and how his rehab is going there. I like Armand Membou as well from Missouri. He's somebody who I think can play a little inside and out. I think he can play at guard, but I think he can play at tackle too. He went up against some really good tests this past year, and he passed them with flying colors. I mean, when I was watching pass rushers this year, if they played Missouri, I was turning on that tape because I wanted to see how you played against Armand Membou, and he was often a guy who was shutting people down. So those are a couple of the top guys. I mean, Kelvin Banks, you could throw him in there as well. Josh Connerly, these guys at the top, but those are the ones that really stick out as the guys that I really like as the top offensive tackle.
Well, so we know the Titans have a decision to make it at 1 or wherever they end up in the first, but they pick again at 35. Of those 5 guys you mentioned, I think those are all the guys that are on consensus boards, first round adjacent. Do you see any of those top 5 guys slipping into the early second round, or do you think they're all going to be gone?
Yeah, I mean, if Simmons' knee injury comes back and it's like, yeah, okay, like it's going well, but it's something he gets to have to deal with. Or even if like it checks out and they go like, yeah, we did the surgery, rehab's going fine, but you just have to deal with it, right? I mean, you have to deal with next year and probably not being able to start the team or start on the active roster right away. And if teams don't really like that, then yeah, you're talking about a late first, early second round type of a pick. Josh Connerly's the other one from Oregon who he's a good football player. I just still think that he's progressing. I didn't love his 2023 stuff. 2024 stuff looked a lot better, but to me, he is not in the same category as those other guys that I mentioned there. I think that he is more of that late first, early second, early day 2 type of an offensive tackle. So those are the 2 guys I mentioned there.
With their biggest needs after quarterback, which feels like a separate thing, it's such a big deal. Receiver, tackle, edge, they need badly, and they only have 2 top 100 picks. So, I know that they desperately want to find a way to get another top 100 pick, and that's why trading is, I think, front of mind for them if that's a possibility. If they are on day 3 having to look for some gems in this class, you're one of the only guys here that has done some digging into the back end of the class. We're all about to get to it, but you're ahead of the curve here.
Sure.
Who are some guys that you like that may be, round 3 or day 3 guys that are gems in your eyes?
Yeah, I wonder if a guy like...
Today's video is brought to you by our new friends at Bart Durham Injury Law. A crash can change your life forever, and help is only a click away at bartdurham.com. At Bart Durham, your big truck wreck is their fight for justice. They've been in business since 1975, so they have half a century of experience dealing with all kinds of wrecks. They're locally operated here in Capitol View, Nashville, but they can fight for anyone in Kentucky or Tennessee who's been in an auto accident. Attorneys are available to meet with you wherever is most convenient, including virtually, and you can reach the Bart Durham team 24/7 to get your legal questions answered. Just call 615-242-9000 and let Bart Durham help today.
like a Charles Grant from a William and Mary, somebody who has adequate length, good height, good arm length to him, a little bit lighter. He plays at like 295, 300 when it comes to offensive tackle, but he's got such great quick footwork. So if you say, hey, we can get this guy a little bit stronger, we can put a little bit more weight on him, he is somebody who's intriguing as sort of a day 3 or maybe 3rd round selection.
Mm-hmm.
A guy who I really like, Ozzie Trapillo from Boston College. I just think he's solid,
it's a name I keep hearing this week.
He is built like a tackle. And when I get asked the questions, hey, there's a lot of tweener, tackle, guard, like who's the true tackle in this class? I always go to Ozzie Trapillo.
Okay.
So I feel like this is a dude who, especially the way that the Tennessee Titans are constructed, they've got J.C. Latham playing left tackle
Bill
now.
Callahan loves his big guys.
And I think that Ozzie Trapillo, who has played right tackle over the last couple of years, he's an easy slide in there if you want him to even be able to play right away. So he is somebody who I would shout out there. And I think another name, Brendan Crenshaw-Dixon, who University of Florida, played at San Diego State before he played at Florida over the last couple of years. He is somebody who, again, built like an offensive tackle. And I think he's got pretty good footwork to him. He knows how to use his length really well. What I like the most about him is he's a patient offensive tackle. He sort of waits for offensive linemen, not in like a he's not scared to bring the fight to you kind of a way, but he'll sort of wait for the defensive line to kind of give away exactly what they're going to do, and then boom, he's got a counter for it.
Right.
He's not the fastest guy, he's not the strongest guy, but I do like the way that he approaches the position. Those are a couple of offensive tackles that a little bit later, 3rd round and beyond, I think about for Tennessee.
Top to bottom, those 3 positions, edge, receiver, tackle. If you had to address one on day 3, what do you think is the most reasonable to wait on? Where do you see the depth?
Yeah. Normally, I'd tell you wide receiver.
Right.
Because you can get good wide receivers really feels like every single year,
Anywhere.
even outside of the top 100. If you need a great offensive tackle, you basically have to draft one. You have to draft one pretty high.
Yep.
You can't sign him. You can't trade for him. Good teams don't let good offensive tackles leave.
That's right.
So you don't really get the opportunity for that. Elite pass rushers you have to take at the top of the draft as well. But this draft is unique where we've got some good pass rushers because of how deep and how many great defensive linemen are in this class. You might be able to get one round 3, round 4. So normally I'd just tell you wide receiver no matter what, because if you need trenches, just take them early. But this year, it's a unique, deep defensive line draft class, so you might be able to get one of those guys.
That's the way I've heard this entire class described, is starters, not stars. Is that fair, you think?
I think a great way to say it. The way that I would say this is, I think we're going to look back 4 or 5 years from now, and the teams that really nailed round 2 and 3 are going to be the ones where we look back and we go, what an elite draft class. Because they're going to be the core players. They're going to be starters for them. Maybe not the franchise caliber players. Shoot, maybe not even the franchise caliber players if you get outside of the top 8.
Yeah.
Right?
It's them.
But it's going to be a lot of guys who make up the core of whatever your roster is. So that is a good way to put it.
Okay, throw me real quick a name or 2 at receiver and edge on day 3 that have caught your eye.
Specifically for the Titans is a good one to think about.
Okay.
Jalen Knoll, Iowa State, track background.
Caught everybody's eye at the Senior Bowl.
Got some good size to him, good yards after the catch type of a guy. Tez Johnson, guy just can't quit, man. I mean, not only is he...
Can you not quit him?
Huh?
Can you not quit him?
Dude, I mean, I understand that he is small. I do.
Yeah.
But he continued to separate extremely well, just like he did when he was on tape.
Yeah.
So separation translates, man. It does.
It does.
Now, I mean, we saw that with Tank Dell. Now, I don't think he's quite as explosive as Tank Dell, but
Right.
I mean, you even look at other wide receivers. I know they're not quite like Tank Dell small, but a guy like Ladd McConkey, a guy like Cooper Kupp, right? He's not the biggest, fastest guys in the world. Even Puka Nacua. Obviously, Puka Nacua is a lot bigger, but it's like these dudes aren't the biggest or fastest players in the world. They just understand how to separate really well. And if you can create separation windows, you can get open. That's the name of the game at wide receiver. We just like to take a lot of athletes who are bigger or stronger or whatever because they do that better. But Tez Johnson actually does it
Football's
consistently.
easy if you think about it. I just think they got to get
it's
open.
sometimes pretty easy. So, like, that's a guy that I can't quit. Jaden Higgins, I don't know where he's going to end up, but another guy from Iowa State who I really like in this class, and he's just pretty smooth. He's a good route runner. Depending on how the NFL views, I think Torrey Horton, somebody who a couple years ago was talked about as a potential top 100 pick, the guy from Colorado State, but had a little bit of a down year, and then he had the injury to him. I think you might be able to get him as a discount. So rounds 3 and round 4. Edge rushers, Antoine Powell-Ryland is somebody that I go to, super explosive dude out of Virginia Tech.
Okay.
He is just sort of that stand-up outside linebacker type of edge rusher, but he's got a nasty swim move to him. So he's somebody that I gravitate towards. If you want somebody who's a little bit more heavy-handed, Elijah Roberts from SMU, really athletic dude. He could play that 5 technique defensive end for you. So those are two guys, a little bit of different styles, but guys who come to my mind immediately when I think of sort of that range and guys who can stand out.
Man, you're an encyclopedia.
Thanks, man.
And that made me feel something right there. I like that. Trevor, you're the man. Appreciate it, guys. Check him out. PFF, all the things at PFF. You're already doing a million mocks, more than you probably should.
You guys can too. PFF.com. Go get
That's
mock
right.
draft simulator.
Go
You
do
guys
them.
can do it
Go
there.
do them and help this guy out. So thank you for your time, man.
Of course, dude. Anytime.
Awesome.